Okay, I bless it.
Hey there. Hi, we're going to do another session on QuickBooks Quick Tips, and we're going to be talking about what I call daily sales receipts. And this is the crazy, messed up sales jumble that happens when you sell things online or in your store, and your customers pay you by credit card and they pay you by cash. And there's so much to track between the specific items that you sell and how the money goes into your bank that it just becomes this huge brain twist. So we're going to talk about how to deal with daily sales receipts. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Julia Shanks, and I'm the author of the book, The Farmer's Office. I'm also the author of the Farmer's Market Cookbook, and I am a QuickBooks Certified Pro Advisor. With me today is Ellen Polishuk, and she is also a farmer and a consultant. And you have experienced this problem firsthand as well. Um,
Yes, ma'am. It's
yes.
yes. This is a hot topic.
So we're going to talk through this together. So basically what's going on is that you're selling lots of things at the farmer's market, and you're selling, squash and peppers and broccoli and tomatoes and apples, and perhaps not all in the same season, but you're selling all of these things. And you want to track that you sold the zucchini and you sold the peppers and you sold the broccoli. And then you receive all this money, and then all this money goes into your bank, and it goes into your bank in the form of cash. It goes into your bank from credit card, direct deposits. But there's also the cash that evaporates, that goes to pay the credit card processing fees. Or perhaps you have cash that you take out of the cash drawer that you use to pay for gas, or you pay an employee, or a vendor swings by and you pay for cash for that. So the cash is flowing in a way that is completely asynchronous to how the cash has come into your business. So we're going to talk about how to handle that transaction. Another way to think about it is the money comes in through Square, some cash evaporates, and then the cash gets deposited into your bank account through the Square or the credit card processing fee. So does that scenario resonate with you, Ellen? Have you seen this before?
Absolutely. That's totally normal. Cash, real cash, dollar bills, and credit card sales for sure.
Yeah, and you were talking about working with a client who has a farm store. So I always think about the farmer's market client, but you're thinking about the farm store as well. So it's a similar scenario.
Yes.
So I want to kind of go simultaneous through the process, what's going on in real life and what's going on in QuickBooks. So in real life, you make sales at the farmer's market, or maybe you're making sales at your farm store. And in QuickBooks, what you want to do is create a sales receipt so that you can record all the different products that you've sold. And you can watch the video on items to see how the items or products and services work within QuickBooks and the sales receipts. But the sales receipt is that mechanism which you're going to track all the specific things that you sold.
Now, I noticed working on a sales receipt yesterday that it asks me, I'm using QuickBooks Online. It
Yep.
asks me what form of payment.
Yeah.
And I just didn't, that was like, but that's the whole point. I don't want to tell you what form of payment. I want to talk about that later.
Yeah.
Is
So
it okay to just leave that blank?
you can totally leave that blank, what
Okay.
form of payment. And, I think that, for some people that create a sales receipt for a single job, if you're a caterer and you create a sales receipt for a single catering job, you might get paid by cash or by credit card. But we're
Right.
using a sales receipt to summarize a bundle of transactions.
Yes.
So you don't have to specify in that place whether it was cash or credit card sales. You
Great.
can leave that blank.
Great. Thank you.
Question. Great question. Thank you. So you make the sales, you've created the sales receipt in QuickBooks. And in real life, you're putting the cash into your cash box or cash register, you're swiping credit cards, you're receiving the payments into your business. And in QuickBooks, you're going to take that sales receipt and you're going to record the deposit into a made up bank account called daily sales receipts. Now, I call it daily sales receipts. The account type in your chart of accounts is going to be a bank account. You could also call it your cash drawer. You could call it limbo. You could call it credit card sales that haven't been deposited yet. You can call this bank account whatever you want, but the point is that it isn't quite in your real bank account. It's in a limbo bank account being held by your credit card company, being held by your cash register. It's in a bank, but it's not in your proper bank, like, Salem 5 Bank down the street.
Yep.
Then you may use cash to pay for things. You might go into the cash drawer and take $50 out to run to the hardware store to pick up something. You may, buy gas, you may pay an employee, all sorts of things. The cash evaporates. Now, you've made this payment through the bank account called daily sales receipts. So in QuickBooks, we do need to record that expense. And in QuickBooks Online, you can enter it as an expense. You can also write a check, and you're writing the check or entering in the expense from the bank account called daily sales receipt. Now, if you're using QuickBooks Online, you can't download these transactions from the bank feed because there's no actual bank feed for this bank because
Right.
it's cash.
Right.
So you have to manually enter in those expenses. And this is how we get in those little expenses that don't go through your bank. Certainly you want to record those expenses, but they haven't gone through your bank. And this is where they go through. This is the bank account that these transactions are funneling through.
Yep, that makes sense.
So then you take the cash to the bank. We have cash coming in several ways. We have cash that's coming into our business through credit cards, and then we have the cash. Some customers still pay by cash these days, which is amazing. And my mom's still at the farmer's market writing a check. So you got your checks and your cash,
Yeah.
which you have in your paw, which you're going to take to the bank. Now, instead of recording a deposit, we're going to record a transfer. We're transferring the
That's what
funds.
I needed.
Yes.
Thank you. God, that's where I got stuck. Okay, good. Keep going. We're going to make a transfer because we have it in a quote unquote fake bank, and we're transferring it from the fake bank to the real bank.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, when the credit card company takes their fees, we need to they're taking it from the fake bank. So we need to write a check or enter an expense from the daily sales receipt bank to account for that credit card expense, those processing fees.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to complicate things too much, but you could add that to the sales receipt as an item. So you could have credit card fees to subtract out using an item on the sales receipt the cost of the credit card processing fees. Or when you look at your statement from Square, Stripe, PayPal, Venmo, or whatever, you can just write a check or enter an expense from that bank account called daily sales receipts.
Okay.
And then when the credit card company direct deposits into your bank account, you're going to transfer the funds from the daily sales receipts into your real bank. Like you did with the cash, we're going to do the same thing with the credit card company.
Now that's where I'm stuck.
All right, so we're going to get there.
Okay, you're going to get there. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, we sort of went over in big picture concept how the process works. Now let's go through step by step in QuickBooks. So the process in QuickBooks is that we're going to record the revenue as a sales receipt, and we're going to deposit the funds into a bank account called daily sales receipts. We're going to record the cash expenses as a journal entry, or we're going to write a check from daily sales receipts. And then as the money is transferred into our bank account, or as the money is deposited into our bank account, we can record it either as a deposit or a transfer. So step one, we create the sales receipt, and a sales receipt is going to prompt you to deposit the money somewhere. So, we can say we sold asparagus, we sold arugula, and, having detailed these items, we can then run a report sales by item. So we can see specifically what we sold, and we'll also be able to see, what did we sell in summary for farm products or retail products or wholesale products.
And
So
we can also do sales by customer if we wanted to see the total sales for that particular farmer's market.
Yep. So with the sold to is the customer. So you could say, Northampton Farmers Market. You could say, Greenville Farmers Market. You could say the farm store. So the customer would be, our farm store. So you could see what you specifically sold there as well. And we're going to deposit all the funds into the daily sales receipts, into that pretend bank account, that holding bank. Then we're going to write checks, and we're going to write checks from the bank account called daily sales receipts, $30. You can write an electronic funds transfer if you want. You can say who you're paying to the order of. And then, you're going to categorize the expense just as you would any other expense, whether it's, merchant deposit fees or, whatever, fuel, employee labor, whatever you spent the cash on. And then we need to get it into the bank as it gets direct deposited. So there's many ways we can do it. So option one, to deposit it into the bank is, we're going to make a deposit to our real business checking account, and it's coming from our daily sales receipts. So this is in essence a transfer, but we recorded it using the deposit function. So it's going into our business checking account and it's coming from the daily sales receipts. Option two is to record it as a transfer. So this is if you're using QuickBooks Desktop, you can sort of say, I'm doing a transfer, and you manually enter it in, and I'm transferring it from my daily sales receipts into my checking account. And if I want to write a memo, it's going to be the auto deposit from the credit card company. Now, this is what it looks like in the QuickBooks Desktop version. If you're using QuickBooks Online and you're seeing these transactions come in through your bank feed, instead of categorizing it as, let's say, farm stand sales, you can click on the button that says record as transfer, and it's being transferred from daily sales receipts and it's going into your bank account. So even though QuickBooks is going to try to be helpful because it's coming from Stripe or from Square, and QuickBooks recognizes that as a sale of product income, you recorded the sale when you deposited into the daily sales receipt account. And here you're just recording a transfer. Instead of categorizing it, you're recording a transfer from your daily sales receipts into QuickBooks. And then you can click the add and it'll get entered into your bank account. And if you look at the bank balance of your daily sales receipt account, it really should be hovering around zero. You're receiving the cash and then it's getting transferred over into your regular bank account. And if there's anything left over in the daily sales receipt account, it's probably the credit card fees that you haven't recorded the expense of, or there's a cash transaction that you didn't record. So any funds that are left over in daily sales receipts is probably an expense that just hasn't been recorded yet. So you really want that number to be hovering around zero. It goes up and it goes down. It should not be, creeping up and up and up and up. Questions?
Okay, that's great, because I forgot the part about how I can choose categorize versus transfer even from the QuickBooks feed. The only thing that seems still like a little bit messy is that you can't tell all at one time that you've correctly moved all the right amount of money out of, that you've gotten it to, you kind of wish you could just get it to zero, like
Yep.
right in one sitting. So
Correct.
then, like that's done. Okay. And
Yeah.
now comes this other market. But if you were a farm, doing multiple markets in a day,
Yep.
this could be some little bit challenging.
Yeah, it can be a little bit challenging, but in a way it sort of simplifies things, because if you receive all your payments into the daily sales receipts, then when you see a deposit in your bank feed in QuickBooks Online, you don't have to try to match it to anything, because it's
Right,
just a transfer from daily sales receipts over to your bank account. So if you deposit all your receipts into this bank account, then everything that shows up in your bank feed is simply a transfer from. So you don't have to worry like, oh, is that 3642 the Square payments from this market or from that market? You don't have to think about it, because it doesn't matter. You already recorded it when you deposited into the daily sales receipt.
Yes, good. Okay, that's very helpful. So then probably, like you just said a second ago, if you were starting to accumulate, like you were, the daily sales receipts was getting bigger and not getting closer to zero all the time, it's probably because you're forgetting about either cash expenses that you've neglected to enter, or most likely all those credit card fees, and you just
Exactly.
hadn't captured it yet.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then at the end of the month, if you see that, you've got $100 left in daily sales receipts, it probably a good chance that it's a credit card fees, and you could write that check or record that expense for the credit card processing fees. So yeah, so that's how you deal with all those messy sales transactions, whether it's at the farmer's market or at your farm store, when you're taking both credit card and cash and check sales. And it's a way to streamline the way that you capture all the sales information and also accurately deposit things into your bank account. So thank you all for joining us today, and feel free to visit thefarmersoffice.com for more videos like this.